Alright, in this video I'm going to be replacing the wheel bearing in my 2013 Mazda 3. For this job I've already got the vehicle jacked up and on a jack stand. As well, I've got all the brake components off. I do have a video on brakes already. I'll link that in the description. It'll have all the torque specs for all the things that I've taken off. The first thing I'm going to do is put the vehicle in neutral, and that's just so that when I remove the axle nut I'm not beating up on the transmission. Might not be that big of a deal, but I just do that anyway. I do put a crowbar in place so the axle doesn't spin, and this is a 32 millimeter nut for the axle, and I use an impact obviously, although a breaker bar would work just fine. Definitely a socket might be a little bit difficult. Now the next step I try here is to use a slide hammer to remove the hub from the wheel bearing, but this is not giving me any love. You see the disc rotor is on there, and that's because it's sort of frozen in place, and I removed that later, but normally you'd take that off if you could, and I do have no love with the slide hammer. So next thing I'm going to do is remove the outer tie rod. I do have a tie rod video as well, link in the description, and that is a 14 millimeter nut. And obviously I've used penetrating spray on everything before removing any nuts and bolts. I do replace the outer tie rod, so I'm not too concerned about it, but to remove it I use a hammer and just hit it down after putting the nut back on top of the tie rod. You could use things like a ball joint separator, there's other tools to use, but for me, because I'm just replacing this tie rod anyway, I give it a few hits with a hammer, and that's also probably how I'd remove it anyway. Now the next thing I'm going to do is remove the lower ball joint, and that is also a 14 millimeter nut, and is also pre-sprayed with the penetrant oil. And for this one, I end up using the impact again. Like I said, 14 millimeter, not too difficult to take off. Once the nut's off, I just remove the bolt. Obviously, you need to remove that bolt to separate the ball joint and to get it out of there. And to get it out of there, I do use a hammer and a screwdriver. To separate the lower control arm, again, I just use that crowbar and pop it out of place. Very straightforward, not very difficult to remove that ball joint. And the last thing I'm going to remove is the lower pinch bolt on the strut assembly. It is a 17 mil bolt, and it is going to hold the steering knuckle on to the strut. Now, if I was able to pull the hub with the slide hammer, this is the one thing that I wouldn't have to do. And this is the last thing holding the steering knuckle onto the vehicle. So I've already pulled out the CV axle, and I've also removed the electrical connector for the ABS sensor. And I'll show you how to put that on once I put everything back together. And now I'm going to use a hammer and gently tap off the steering knuckle from the suspension. Overall, pretty straightforward. Basically just 3 bolts that need to come off once you've got the brakes off to get this entire steering knuckle off. Now, like I said, you could do this with it on the vehicle, but because I was unsuccessful in using the slide hammer to pull the hub, and also that brake rotor is being difficult, this is the path I chose, and quite honestly, getting this steering knuckle off isn't too bad. To knock out the hub, I just put in some of the components of this bearing press kit, and then I use a sledgehammer with the steering knuckle propped up on some of the concrete out in front of my house. Not overly difficult, in fact pretty easy to do, and a few good hits with the sledgehammer, and you can see that it popped right out. And I was going to get ready for an epic struggle getting this brake rotor off, but really just hitting it with the hammer a bunch of times has knocked it loose. And you can see that this rotor is really bad. I'm going to have to do brake rotors as well. And this rotor is not that old. In fact, you can see in my video when I put it on, it is a Brembo rotor. And I'm definitely not going to get another Brembo product, as it really just seems to have not survived the winter salty conditions here in Canada. Anyway, now there is a snap ring that holds the bearing in place. 100% I would advise getting a new snap ring when you buy your bearing. Do not reuse your snap ring. It could break when you're trying to get it out. From watching a few other videos online, a lot of people were saying this snap ring is the hardest thing to get off. I really didn't actually find it was too bad, even though you can see that it's incredibly rusted in there. I use a lot of penetrant spray, and then I use this nail set and just smack it about 100 times to get it moving. And once I've loosened it up, and I've got it rotating within the steering knuckle. I just use needle nose pliers and a flathead screwdriver, and then just pry it out. Like I said, I was ready for an epic battle with this one. Based on everyone's comments online, I didn't find getting this retaining snap ring out to be the hardest part of this job. In fact, the real hardest part was using that slide hammer for about 20 minutes, and then just going at the bearing with the steering knuckle completely off the vehicle. It's now time to press out the bearing, and one thing you want to watch for is the ABS sensor. So it's that piece of plastic that just extends into the gap in the metal. So we're going to use an appropriate size metal disc so that it'll capture as much of the bearing as possible on the back, but will not hit the ABS sensor. And then on the front side, I'm just going to use one of these larger accessories so that it's pushing on the bearing on the back, but on the front side, all it's doing is pushing on the metal on the steering knuckles. So this is how I'm getting this bearing press tool set up. Overall, I found this bearing press kit pretty easy to use. Links in the description, of course, for all the tools that I'm using. And this is definitely a tool that is necessary if you're going to do one of these press-in bearings. The other option would be to take your steering knuckle to a shop and then just have them press in the bearing for you. I would assume that most shops will do that for you. And there's the full setup. For this, I'm using the 32mm socket. And then on the front, I just use adjustable wrenches. For removing the bearing and the insertion of the bearing, I do get it started with a breaker bar, but then I go over to the impact drill. And really, I find that the impact drill makes pretty short work of this. It's not difficult to press out the bearing. Obviously, you're going to need that snap ring out, or I'm sure it would be incredibly difficult to press out the bearing, if not impossible. And then just keep running the drill or your breaker bar or whatever you're using until the entire bearing is free of your steering knuckle. Before inserting the new bearing, I am going to clean up all the rust, especially around that snap ring area. But in general, I'm just going to clean the entire area where the bearing inserts. And mainly to do this, I'm using a wire disc and my drill. It's really up to you and the quantity of rust on your vehicle, but I found that the wire disc was enough, and in fact, it didn't take too long to clean this up. And I am using red and tacky grease to lubricate the inside of the steering knuckle before I press in the bearing. And I really just put in a light amount of grease. These are directional, so the magnetic sensor piece needs to face towards the ABS sensor. On this one, it's that black ring. You can test that by using a piece of ferrous metal and just touching it against the bearing. The side that it's magnetized against is the side that goes towards the ABS sensor. Basically, it uses that magnetic disc to sense the speed of the wheel. And obviously, I am lubing up the exterior of the bearing as well. Now, pressing this in, again, we're going to avoid pressing on that ABS sensor. So I'll use one of the larger attachments. It's very much the opposite of removing it. So you're going to want something that presses on the steering knuckle rather than on the bearing on the back side. On the front side, you want to use one of the attachments that covers the entire bearings. If you have one that's too small and only covers the middle, as an example, it could end up pushing the center of your bearing out, which is obviously what you don't want. So you want to push the entire bearing in and not just push on the center. So that is an example of an attachment that will push on the entirety of the bearing. I found that the press that I'm using is a little bit short. I was initially going to use the old bearing to press in the new bearing, but the bolt on this press was too short to do that. So I'm going to start it off by pressing it in with this disc that is obviously large enough to cover the entire bearing. Again, 32mm socket, and I'm just using the breaker bar to get it going. I don't know if there's really a chance that you could press this in slightly crooked. I think once it starts going in, it'll probably straighten itself out. There's no way you can drive this in crooked the whole way. But I use the breaker bar at first just to get that feel for it. And then I do switch over to the impact, because obviously it's going to get a little bit more difficult the further in you drive the bearing. So like I said, switched over to the impact. And once I've got it in as far as that plate will take it, I'm going to disassemble the press and then put the old bearing in so that I can press the new bearing in all the way. Obviously, the old bearing enters into the steering knuckle by about 1 centimeter, and then eventually the new bearing will bottom out and everything will stop going in. So pretty straightforward. The old bearing doesn't get stuck in there in any way, and that's what everything looks like once everything's pressed in. And the big thing is that the bearing needs to be pressed in beyond the grooves for the snap ring so that you can get your new snap ring put into place. Now, just taking a quick look at the old bearing, you could see that it was definitely going to be making some noise. There's a lot of rust in that bearing, and you can definitely see that the rust has built up in between the ball bearings. So definitely a very noisy bearing. And now, of super critical importance is getting this snap ring back in place and ensuring that the snap ring is fully seated into that groove. Because if you forget to put that snap ring in there or it pops out, there's a pretty high risk that that bearing could come loose while you're driving. Now, pressing in the hub, very similar to pressing in the bearing. I'm going to lube it up a little bit with some more red and tacky. Obviously give it a wipe down so that it's not a big grease ball going in. We don't need to overdo the lube, just a little bit. I do just put the hub in by hand initially. Now on the back side of this, we want to press on the back side of the bearing so the hub doesn't push the center of the bearing out. So now I'm pressing on the bearing rather than the body of the steering knuckle. And then on the front side of the press, I'm just going to select an appropriate size plate that can push in the hub. Pretty straightforward at this point. Again, the bolts that come in this press kit are pretty short. I'm a little bit surprised that they aren't longer, but they are long enough, I suppose, to get the job done. If you had something that was thicker, I think you would have difficulty, but for a Mazda 3, this is fine. Before I start pressing, I'm going to center everything up, and just like for the bearing, I'm going to get it started by hand using the breaker bar before I switch over to the impact. I did find that the hub is a little bit more difficult to press into the bearing than the bearing was to press into the steering knuckle, but in the end, also not too difficult of a job. And like I said, eventually I do switch over to the impact, and I pretty much just run it down until it stops going in. And that's what everything looks like put back together. Overall, not the hardest job, but it is a pretty time-consuming job actually to get this done. Now lining up the front suspension with the steering knuckle, there's obviously a gap in the back of the steering knuckle, and that hook goes through the gap so that when you put the pinch bolt in, it goes through that hook that is on the suspension. I did find it was a little bit tight to slide back onto the suspension, and obviously I'm using a hammer to tap it in place. I'm not going crazy. It is a large hammer, but it gets set into place fairly easily. Now this bolt clearly had Loctite on it when I removed it, so you can see there's some blue residue there. So I do use blue Loctite again to clamp it down to the suspension. Now as for the torque spec I'm using on this one, again I don't have a manual, but I go with 56 foot-pounds, doing a little bit of internet research. Once that's attached to the suspension, I'm going to move the steering knuckle around and get that CV axle in. Pretty easy to get the CV axle in, honestly. You may need to move the hub around a little bit to line up the splines on that gear. Now, I thought I bought one nut for the hub. Turns out it was a box of 5. I have no idea why they sell a box of 5 of these things. A box of 4 would make a lot more sense. But anyway, I got a lot of these to spare. So I just put that nut on so nothing backs out. And now I'm going to hook up the sensor for the ABS. There it is, hooked up. ABS ready to go. Suspension's good. And now I'm just going to get that lower ball joint on. Honestly, this was pretty difficult. Pressing down that lower ball joint and getting in place was one of the harder things. This would probably be easier if you had 2 people to do it. One person to push down on the control arm and one person to push in on the steering knuckle. But I pulled it off by myself, so I'm sure anyone else could pull it off by themselves as well. And once it's all lined up, I just use another jack to push the ball joint into place. And you do need to get it all the way in. There is an indentation that needs to be cleared for when you put this bolt in place. And this one's not just a bolt, it's a bolt and nut combination. And just like the bolt for the suspension, I do put some blue Loctite on this, and then I use a dead blow to hammer it into place. Now normally I do buy all new hardware In this case, I did not buy new hardware. Although if your vehicle's as rusty as mine, I do advise just getting new nuts and bolts when you start major jobs like this so that you don't end up in a situation where you need to go get a nut or bolt. And the torque spec I'm using for the lower ball joint is 40 foot-pounds. Now, I do have a whole other video on how to do the tie rods, because you can see that this is actually a new tie rod. So I'll put a video for tie rods in the description as well if you want to do a replacement. And the torque specification that I'm going to use for the tie rod is going to be 40 foot-pounds as well. I do get an alignment after doing this, but it was more based on the fact that I changed out both front tie rods rather than the fact that I changed out the wheel bearing. If I just did the wheel bearing, I wouldn't necessarily rush to do the alignment, but with the two tie rod replacements, I did feel that it was preferable to get the alignment done as soon as possible. And of course, when you do the tie rod and after torquing down the nut, there is going to be a safety cotter pin that you need to put back in place. If you have pulled the old one out and it's all rusty, I would recommend that you also have a new cotter pin rather than reusing your old one. In this case, I'm just using a new one because it came with the new tie rod. And before I put on my brake rotor, I do put a whole bunch of anti-seize down. I will have to change that brake rotor in the future. And as mentioned, I have a whole brake video, so you can watch that if you want to see how to put things back together. Really, the last part of this is to torque down that axle nut. Again, I put the vehicle in neutral. I use a crowbar to prevent the axle from turning, and I torque it to 202 foot-pounds, so you're going to need a big torque wrench at this point. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up this video. Thanks for checking it out. Hopefully it helped you. Don't forget to like and subscribe.